Few things move the needle like the in-season tournament.
That's right.
Monday Night Football? Nope. March Madness? Sorry. The Super Bowl? Put that to the side. Tonight, we start a new run in the NBA. And of course, I'm talking about the in-season tournament where we are now down to 4 games, 8 teams, 2 tonight, 2 tomorrow as far as games are concerned. All of our odds over on DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll get into that in just a second. This is Picks and Roll. Sean Brace, Sean Barnard. He covers the Sixers and all things NBA for us on The Gambler. Somewhat light weekend, Friday, Saturday games, off on Sunday. And then, as I said, we got 2 games tonight in the association, 2 games tomorrow in the association. But, Sean, I definitely thought it was important for us to get going here. A busy week in front of us. Sixers only 2 games this week against okay opponents. They should come away 2-0. We'll discuss that a little bit further. 4 next week, so things start to get a little bit more busy. And then, of course, NBA or Christmas Day, which is the start of the NBA season for a lot of people, fast approaching as they're taking on the Miami Heat on December the 25th. But, Sean, first of all, always great to have you on. Number 2 is, before we dive into these games, let's talk a little bit about what we saw last time the Sixers took the floor, and that was on Friday night against the Boston Celtics. Covered the number. They were 7-point dogs. A really interesting game from the standpoint of who produced, and of course we know the expectations going into that game as far as Boston is concerned and how good they are. No Joel Embiid, no Porzingis, so that kind of does change things up a little bit from their standpoint as well, but I'll definitely give Embiid the nod on that one. Just all in all, I know that you were beaming with joy, even though they did come up short. What was your big takeaway from that game on Friday night versus Boston?
Yeah, this team scraps, man. That was my biggest takeaway is every single night it feels like we keep waiting for that foot off the gas, them letting up a little bit. And that was honestly one of the most fun that I've had watching this team this year. They did ultimately lose 125-119, but without Embiid and without Maxey, and to just be even in that game was awesome. Pat Bev leading the charge, 26 points, tying a career high, also added 8 rebounds and 7 assists. I would really argue that was the best game of Patrick Beverley's entire NBA career, and that's impressive that he even had that in the tank at this point. Him running the whole offense, him calling isolations, calling for Al Horford or Luke Cornett on a switch, and then hitting step back threes in their face. Something I just did not expect to see at any point really ever in Patrick Beverley's career. So that was very cool to see. The team competed, the team fought. Robert Covington was awesome. Mo Bamba showing some positive signs, which was new to see. So a lot of really nice takeaways. The lone dark spot, or I guess frustrating point, was Tobias Harris, who played arguably one of the worst halves of basketball I've ever seen in that second half. 0 points in the second half without Maxey and Embiid. Just straight up unacceptable there. And a couple momentum shifting, but getting stuffed at the rim twice, a bad turnover. So Tobias was the bad part of that. Definitely frustrating there. But overall, very impressed with the effort as a team, and was a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, another game where Al Horford has his way with Philly. He finished with 20, 7 and 9 from the field. Jalen finished with 20. Just a collective team effort from the Boston Celtics. Tatum went for 21 as well. To the Sixers side of things, it's just so funny. All the memes and tweets I was seeing about Tobias Harris, it's just the truth. I mean, he could be red hot, he'll finish with 16. He could be terrible, he'll finish with 16. Well, on that night, he finished with 14. But look, it's a way to get everybody involved, get them included, see who could do what, start making some adjustments, some changes if need be. If there's another blowout, maybe somebody earned some PT in that one, like you pointed out with Pat Bev. I don't know if that's the way it works, but it was a loss at the end of the day to the Boston Celtics. So now the Celtics take a 2-1 series lead on the 76ers this season. As I said, next time we see the Sixers, it will be on Wednesday night when they take on the Washington Wizards. Is that game home? I apologize. I had it up.
Let me double check real quick. I don't believe so. I believe it's in Washington. No, it is home. It is home. Or no, this
sure?
one's in Washington. Monday's home. So they got 2 against the Wizards. Goes Wizards, Hawks, Wizards. This one's on the road, then back home for the Hawks and the Wizards again.
12-7 on the season, 13-6 ATS, 12-6-1 to the over for your 76ers. Talk a little bit about what's the latest. Kelly Oubre, when they take the floor on Wednesday against the Wizards, should we expect to see Oubre in the rotation, starting 5? Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what all signs are pointing to, that he's now full participant in practice, scrimmaging with the team. Nick Nurse said the expectation is that he will be back on the floor Wednesday, which is going to be a big boost for the Sixers team. That as much as there hasn't been much clarity on the actual situation as a whole, and I've yet to hear Oubre speak himself on the situation or the injury or really face the media at all yet. The bottom line is he's going to be on the floor again, and the Sixers need him. This was a guy 16.4 points per game in the 8 games that he played before getting hurt. 5.1 rebounds, 1.4 steals, guy that can create his own offense. Sounds like he's going to be coming off the bench for the start, and I do think that ends up the long-term outlook for Oubre on this team. I have no issue with that whatsoever, but very excited for him to be back on the floor, and I do think that the Sixers are going to get a boost from him being there.
All right, and then just no Embiid last week in 2 games, one against New Orleans, one against Boston, just simply due to a cold. Look, not making any jokes here, but of course the common cold is not so much common these days. It could really knock you on your ass. It doesn't care who you are. So we should expect to see Joel Embiid, no questions, on Wednesday as well.
Yep, he'll be back all good. Yeah, just an illness thing. Sounds like something a little worse than a cold. Embiid, not the guy with the strongest immune system throughout his career. We've seen him get sick a couple times. So glad he's feeling better. But yeah, there's a couple guys on the team that it seems to be going around with. Maxey wasn't feeling well either. Jaden Springer missed some time with sickness as well. So hopefully that settles down throughout the team and we're close to the end of that, because not good when guys are popping in and out for things like that.
All right, couple quick ones from the weekend, and of course, we'll get on over to tonight's games, the 4 over the next 2 nights in the season tournament. And oh, by the way, the league taking a pause here. I don't know if I like that. I think we should still have some other games to wager on and stuff like that. But no games last night, no games today except for the 2, no games except for the 2 tomorrow. Great matchups. I'm all about it. But I like a big card. I like having options in life. But some of the things I want to discuss with you, 2 things from the weekend. First of all, Golden State blew another big-time lead, this time to the Clippers. Clippers came back and won that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, is Superman, starting to lose some strength? Not to say that the Clippers are the Golden State kryptonite by no means, but that's a couple big games that they've had some pretty big leads and coughed them up. And it's Golden State. If anybody can hit an open shot, it's Golden State. If anyone can make their free throws, it's Golden State. What's going on with the Warriors? And I know we asked this last week, but starting to be concerned a little bit. And what I mean by that is this team's making the playoffs. We know that, but championship window, when it closes, it's shut. Are we there, possibly being there this year in your mind? What are you seeing?
Yeah, this has definitely felt like a last hurrah kind of moment, and even bringing in with the Chris Paul trade, I think that they're still figuring out how the whole flow of that works within the offense. That provides Steph coming a little more off ball. We're also seeing Draymond Green much more involved offensively than I honestly expected, shooting some threes, getting the action. They actually went with he had a 3-point attempt that could have gone for the lead in that one with the Clippers in crunch time there. So pretty surprising to see that. And yeah, he shot 4 of 8 from 3 in that game, Draymond did. So not really accustomed to him having that type of output from beyond the arc or really on offense in general. For the most part, his damage is done as a connective playmaker on the defensive end and the things we know Draymond for. So I've been a little bit surprised by that. I'm not going to count this team out because they're still the Warriors, and they are a team that, as I've said in here, they're just get a ticket to the dance and they'll make it happen to here, that they're not going to be up in arms over regular season loss pretty much ever. But there's definitely some stuff concerning, and it does feel like this is the last dance for this team, that if they don't find a way to connect and put it all together this year, I do think that we're looking at the end of this Golden State run, this dynasty. I do think Steph Curry still has it in the tank, and that is the main part of anything. Klay Thompson looks like he's dropped a little bit. Andrew Wiggins been up and down this year. Chris Paul on his last legs, and Draymond, who knows? So as long as Steph still got it, I'm not counting this team out, but it has not been pretty, and I do have some legitimate concerns with this team.
All right. And then also from the weekend, just another one that was on the timeline for a lot of people out there, LeBron and Udoka going at it in the Houston Rockets Laker game on Friday night, which was awesome. Udoka stood his ground. He just didn't move. LeBron was essentially calling him every which name possible. The lip readers and also the microphones finally were released. Lip readers were on it pretty quickly. Microphones picked up a heated exchange between LeBron and Udoka, where the theme was "Don't call me a bitch."
Don't use that loosely.
Don't use that loosely. So, just as far as Houston is concerned, I know you listed them as a team number one, but on the rise, but one of the bigger surprises this year. Should we what's the ceiling for the Houston Rockets this season? Let me ask you that.
I think we'll be in the hunt. I think we'll be in the playoff mix, maybe a play-in team, which, to be honest, should be looked at as in a very positive light. That the fact that they're going to be kind of in that mix, they've been far better than I thought they were. And the biggest tactical change that Udoka's made, and first off, hat tip to Udoka. I think he's a phenomenal basketball coach, a very good basketball mind, and grateful that he is no longer the head coach of the Celtics for sure from the Sixers perspective. But the biggest change they made is really making Alperen Şengün the primary playmaker within that offense. I don't think Jalen Green was very good at it, and I think that was a cause for really their struggles these past couple years. Jalen Green's still very talented and does a lot of good on the basketball court, but I think as a guy running the offense is not a recipe for success for the team. Alperen Şengün stepped up and done it at a pretty high level. Jabari Smith taking a step forward. So I do think this is a pretty good team. I still think they're young, they're up and coming and trying to figure it all out. So I don't have huge expectations for this year, but I think they'll be in the mix for the length of the season, which should be viewed very positively.
All right. Plus 240 on DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 240 on the yes to make the playoffs, the Houston Rockets right now on the no, minus 310. So go and get that change if you think Houston can make it to the next level this season. Speaking of DraftKings Sportsbook, they sent me a nice little package today, well, over the weekend, and they now have a licensed gear that they're teaming up with, obviously, the 76ers here. So got myself a nice little new Sixers cap, new sweatshirt too, as well, with a little DraftKings crown at the top. You like that, Sean Brace? You like that?
I do. That's a good looking hat right there.
Well, when you lose as much money as I do on DraftKings, they'll send you free. I get it. No. Hey, look, the NBA, though, just saying, this is why I enjoy doing this stuff more than anything selfishly. You know me better than most. When we get together and we talk these things through, I'm a better gambler. I'm making better plays. Yesterday, perfect example on Countdown to Payout with John Jansen. We were able to eliminate 2 or 3 wagers that I was kind of on the fence about, tighten things up, found 4 games that I loved, went 4-0. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that happens all the time, but especially 4-0. But I feel like I push the bad stuff away, like maybe the guessing, maybe the hopeful, and then get to, hey, your best chance are these wagers, or is this prop here? And it's happening right now with us in the NBA. Last week, definitely most successful week to date. Haven't really fired too much on the association all season long. Last week was like that first week I got it. And I know the NBA is the league that will rip your heart and soul out from night to night. If you think, just when you think you know it, whoop, 0-4 right around the corner. I totally get that. But at the same time, I feel so much better about wagering on these games and trying to find those winners with us right here on Picks and Roll. So no better time to do it than right now with the 2 games that we have tonight, 2 games tomorrow. Correct me if I'm wrong, from the in-season tournament. 4 games, 8 teams left. The next time that these 2 teams tonight will face off will be Wednesday, and the championship is in Friday. So it goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for all these 8 teams. Whoever wins will advance. Championship game in Vegas Friday, correct?
Saturday championship,
Saturday?
I believe. I'm looking at the NBA bracket on the NBA on NBA.com. It looks like the quarterfinal today and tomorrow. The semifinal is going to be Thursday and championship Saturday.
Gotcha. Okay, so they skip a day in there. All right, that makes sense. Is there anything there? You have to ask this question. Is there anything there from wagering on this tournament that makes it different than a normal, average, regular season game for you, Sean? For me, I think yes. I look at the spots. I think there are teams out there that are viewing this in a much different light. And I don't know if that's, if the majority of people, majority of sports gamblers would agree with me. What is your take on it? Because I just look at the Pacers, and of course this means a lot more to them. I look at the Knicks. I think that game against the Bucks would mean a lot more than them there as well. Maybe not Suns and Lakers, maybe not Pelicans and Kings, but those 2 games I just referenced, I feel like for those 2 teams, this tournament carries new weight. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And we're going to kind of get a read on how much this means to each team throughout these couple games. Like, I'm curious, a team like the Lakers, which obviously LeBron James has one of the most accomplished resumes ever, and they still have their eyes on contending for a championship this year. The Suns in a similar boat to where they have their eyes lasered on competing for a title. The Bucks, the same thing. The Celtics, same thing. But then you look at a team like the Pacers or like the Kings or the Pelicans that maybe not so much of a clear path to contending for a true championship. The Pacers are the team that have kind of my eyes paying attention to them. I did fire on a Pacers to win the in-season tournament at plus 1,400. they're a team that I think on a one-game basis, that when you talk about a playoff series, how you get the ebbs and flows, there are teams figuring out each other. The Pacers are a team that on a one-night basis, I think can take anybody and go head-to-head and can really run teams out of the gym. I was looking at some of their numbers today. First in the NBA in offensive rating, first in the NBA in pace. And the offensive rating, there's like a notable gap. Like it's like a 3-point gap between number 2, which is the Sixers, for offensive rating there. So the Pacers, I like them to run and gun. They can shoot the lights out on anybody. Tyrese Halliburton putting together like a real deal, awesome, borderline MVP conversation year this year. And a lot of that's just because of how much he's asked to do from a uptick the tempo, make all the decisions, score when he wants to, putting up some really ludicrous numbers there. So I like the Pacers. I like Halliburton, and I do think that's worth a play as far as a team that's hungry and a team that does have a chance.
Total of coming in at 244. And I know, look, I think they just played the Heat the other night and they scored like 140 themselves. I know the Pacers, there's been a couple games. You know what? Let's have fun, a little exercise with that right now.
Yeah, with the Hawks, they went over 300 in the game with the Hawks, the two teams there, 157, 152, I think.
144 last time out against the Heat. They lost 132 the previous time against the Heat. 114, 136. These are all Pacer totals. 131, 157.
Yep.
116 in a loss, 132, 126 in a loss, 126 in a win, 134, 152 in a win. This team scores in a bunch. But we know the Celtics can do that as well. If anything, I'm looking at the +6. I want to ride with you on the money line. I think that this team can win this game, but I'll take the +6. That's the one game that I'm liking a lot here. +6 for the Pacers at home.
Yeah, I like that play, and I also like the over as much as an intimidating number. That both the Celtics and Pacers in the top 5 in 3-point attempts per game. As I mentioned, Pacers first in offensive rating, first in pace. This is going to be a high-scoring matchup. I think these teams are going to be getting up and down. No Kristaps Porzingis for the Celtics still. By the way, Jason Tatum getting ejected in that last game against the Sixers, so I think he's going to be a little bit hungry in this one as well. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points. I do like the Pacers to get the win, and very easily could not. Like they could lose this one, and then those dreams of winning the whole in-season tournament are smashed. But I do think on a one-game basis that they have a real chance of this one, and 6 feels a little bit too big for me.
All right. Anything else from that game, player prop? Anything that you're looking at from the Celtics and the Pacers?
Halliburton's a guy that you pretty much can't go wrong with right now as far as just how much the ball's in his hand. I'm going to look at the exact numbers here. I do like that over as much as I know the numbers sound crazy and it feels crazy now, but there's really no number that's that high for me with the Pacers. I like the over. I like the number. The player prop wise, I do kind of like the Buddy Hield 14.5 on points. He's been firing a little bit, has gone down a little in production, but I think that's going to be the uptick. Halliburton at 27.5 points is really solid. He's a guy that I think with the combos is very effective with too. When you combine the combo for him, you're looking at 37.5 for points and assists. That's a good number as well. He's a guy that has games where he throws up like 17 assists too, so he can really knock away at that number. Tyrese Halliburton's the guy for me tonight. He's the engine of their offense. Everything runs through them, and if they're going to have a chance in this game, he's going to have to perform at a high level. I expect that all to happen.
All right. Game number 2 this evening, going off at 10 p.m. Of course, all eyes are on this. What is it, ESPN? Sean, that's a bad job by me. ESPN tonight?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Yeah, I think it's ESPN tonight, and then tomorrow will be no. TNT tonight. Tonight. So I take that back, and I know that there's some mix going on between some of the personalities from both. Look, to add a little juice, more Barkley, more better. Wilbon, I could live without, and I love Wilbon. It's just I think his days are past him from covering the league in detail. I don't think he really watches, to be honest with you. And hell, you watch PTI. Well, no, actually, it's Kornheiser that is the one sleeping. Now, I don't get the opportunity to watch too much PTI as I'm still working at 5:30, but I don't think Wilbon does, his due diligence in a lot of these games, but all respect to who he is and who he's been. Stephen A is Stephen A. And I think it's going to be good television, and that's all that matters. Anyways, let's talk about the game tonight, New Orleans and Sacramento. And this is interesting because this kind of has a little Pac-12 championship game vibe. Sean Bernard, do you have any reason why I would bring up the Pac-12 championship game that was just played on Friday night between Oregon and Washington, and this game right here in the in-season tournament in the NBA?
I'm not sure if I'm exactly following you. I know the high scoring, maybe the high pace, something like that, but I'm not sure what your connection is here.
Incorrect. You know what my connection is?
What's
The
that?
New Orleans Pelicans have played the Sacramento Kings 2 times this year and
Okay.
beat them both times. One by 36 and one by 5. All right. Tonight, we put a little something extra, a little extra sauce on this game. Game in Sacramento, and Sacramento Kings are 3.5-point favorites.
Wow.
Why is that? 236.5 is your total. New Orleans has been playing really well. And of course, we don't have to tell many people that here in Philly. We saw what they're capable of last week, albeit without Joel Embiid. But they have a lot of names, a lot of good talent, a lot of good pieces. And you know what? They play a pretty good brand of basketball, in my opinion. They're aggressive, don't turn it over, take some good shots, got some size down low. I like Zion a lot, of course. But when it comes to this game tonight, I'm gonna just ride with the odds makers on this one. If you're making Sacramento a home favorite, I'm gonna take the Kings. It won't shock me if they win by 2 here. The money line is -155. No, that's not a cop out. It's just setting me up for failure here. Set me up for a loss. They're 3.5-point favorites. Would not shock me if they got to win by a final bucket or something along those lines. The Kings have played a lot of tight basketball over the last week or so here. -155 on the money line. Hopefully that comes down a peg or two. Maybe money will come in on the Pelicans when people start to add up that they are 2-0 against this team, and we might take a flyer on the money line here. But anything for you at 10 p.m. between these two teams, Sean?
Yeah, I think they laid the beam. I'm riding with the Kings on this one as well. They're a very good home team in general, especially last year. They were phenomenal at home playing in Sacramento. Really good crowd there, really good atmosphere in that arena. I do think they get the better of the Pelicans here. Pelicans, to me, like playing very good basketball, but it still feels a little disconnected. They just got Trey Murphy back, which is another big addition for them, a guy who I like quite a bit. He's finding his kind of order in the pecking order as well. I do like the CJ McCollum points. That's sitting at 17.5. He scored 19 and 20 in his 2 games back since coming back from the collapsed lung there. I also was very surprised to see Jordan Hawkins' number at 6.5. He's a guy who's should be talked about more as far as one of the best rookies this year. The UConn guard, very productive, really good shooter. He's a guy that gets his shots. So 6.5 at plus 100 was a little surprising to me for Jordan Hawkins. But overall, that I do feel good about the Kings getting the win in this one. I think they're just a little bit more polished as a team and knows their identity for how to play. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are the real deal. Malik Monk coming on strong. So, yeah, I lean towards the Kings in this one for sure.
All right, leaning towards the Kings. And, look, you're not going to catch any argument from a lot of people. They are right now. Let's see here. I had this up right here. The Kings currently are 6-2 at home. And the Pelicans 3-6 on the road, 11-10 for the Pels this season, 11-7 for the Kings. And like we said, they're just a much better team at home here. This one opened up at 233.5, and it did bounce back up to 236. So that's a high number on that one, 236.5. As a matter of fact, on DraftKings Sportsbook. Sean, we're doing this live right here, right now, but is there anything happening from Kelly Oubre's camp? Have the Sixers released a quote or something? I'm seeing some things on my timeline. If you could pull that up and see if we can add to the conversation as we're going to wrap things up here in just a second. But I want to make sure that we're not missing anything as far as the big items of the day, especially from Kelly Oubre. And I believe Bodner had something, if I'm not mistaken there, Sean. But again, tonight, big one, and it rolls right into tomorrow from the Knicks and Bucks. That's a 4.5-point spread right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. 225 is your total on that one. And 10 p.m., probably the game for a lot of people because of the names in the matchup. The Phoenix Suns and the LA Lakers. Lakers, 2-point favorites, 227.5 is your total in that one. We'll give you all the thoughts as far as the next 2 games coming up tomorrow on another edition of Picks and Roll right here. Once again, all of our podcasts available at foxphlgambler.com. Sean, were you able to dig anything up there?
Yep, and the quote from Derek Bodner here on Kelly Oubre. So this is the first time that he's kind of spoken to the media. A little bit interesting there. I'm curious to get the full transcript of this, but the quote that Bodner tweeted out from Kelly is, quote, "This was and is a very traumatic situation for me and my family. I just wish my life wasn't like the Truman Show where everyone could kind of watch it and have their own opinions about my life." Curious. I want to see a little more of what he said there. But yeah, good that he's finally, I guess, faced the music and talking about it a little bit. I would like to see him just kind of fully open up. We have not heard from him since the accident occurred and since he got hurt. So it is nice to kind of get a window into what he's thinking, his outlook, and obviously prayers up. Happy that he's feeling better and healed up. But yeah, I'm curious to see the rest of this breakdown as well.
Yeah, he got hurt. Nobody got arrested. Nobody's feelings are hurt. There was no destroyed property. Like I hate to compare the two, but it's almost like the Carissa Thompson deal. It's like, all right, people, like, let it go. It's over. Let's move on. I get it. He's our guy. He's a Sixers player, and we want to know. Ooh, we want to know. But there was a lot of people that were A, piling on, B, having fun with it. Like, this took on a whole nother life of its own, as I said. So I'm kind of right there
Yeah.
with Kelly on that one, right? Where it was just like, you had Eskin and you had Annie McCormick from 6ABC peppering Nick Nurse before a pregame, like with almost putting the questions to the side and saying, this is how it's being reported, and with an angle, with almost venom in their mouths. So it does suck from that standpoint with Kelly.
And a little bit more here. We have this from Keith Pompey that this was the start of Kelly Oubre's quote here. And he said, first and foremost, before anything, I want to say thank you to my family, my friends in the 76ers organization, especially Coach Nurse, for the utmost support throughout the whole process. But I've spoken to the police about the situation, and they have an ongoing investigation. So I've spoken to who I need to speak to about it, and I'll keep that the way it is. I won't be speaking on any details about that because they're looking into it. And one more here we have from Sam DiGiovanni of Clutch Points, that he just followed up that initial quote that I said from Bodner, and said a lot of people were inconsiderate and insensitive to try and worry about video cameras and stuff, but something that this is something that happened with my life and very detrimental to me and missing time in my job. So not full answer or for full questions answered there, but still kind of like that he is coming out and speaking. And once again, I'm excited to either see or read this in full for sure.
Yeah, it just sucks because you just want it to be put behind him and let's get back out there on the floor, let's ball. But when you're not going to answer it in its totality, you're still going to have all these question marks. And if you have nothing to worry about, I mean, I guess there's it's always,
Yeah.
like it's always a cop out, right? And I'm full of these examples today. You know what's a cop out that's really bothering me, and it has for years and years.
What's that?
When columnists put out articles, and then the people that work for their paper or their outlet, they're the ones that decide on the headline. They're the ones that decide on the tweet, and that's the cop out, right? Like it almost rubs me the wrong way. Like I almost don't want to bother with those outlets because I know if I go to libertyline.com, I know who writes the damn post is writing the headline, right? Crossing Broad, same thing. Like enough of that. Enough. I can't stand that cop out. And this the same thing. It's like, dude, just come on out and say, you know what? I didn't do a damn thing. You guys got questions, go talk to the police. For right now, this is an ongoing investigation. What happened? I was hit by a car. I was riding my bike. I was hit by a car. Like, you got to answer something here, or don't address the media.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they've gone with the don't address the media tactic for several weeks now that we have not heard from Kelly or Nick Nurse even has kind of, and as Nick Nurse should, he kind of shut everything down with that because it isn't his place to speak on it. And he knows the same amount as all of us, to be honest, that he was not there. He's kind of catching up in the same way that we all are when it happened. So it did rub me the wrong way, Nick Nurse being attacked for it for stuff that he genuinely does not know or have the answers to that these people want him to. So it is a little different for Kelly to now be standing in the shoes and speaking. I do hope that we can get past this, and it would be the most Sixers thing ever if Kelly just like forgot how to shoot in the process of things or something like that.
Don't do it, Sean. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, we'll see what happens tonight as far as the in-season tournament is concerned. 60 seconds on the clock. Bengals, Jags. Jags are 10-point favorites. 40 is your total. Give me a play.
Yeah, I'll go Jags -10 tonight. Don't have any faith in the Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengals, and as of now, the playoffs run through Jacksonville in the AFC. So I think they're going to keep controlling their destiny. They show up, they get a big win tonight, and I think this is a little bit of a statement win for Jacksonville.
We'll see how it plays out. Look forward to discussing it all on tomorrow's Picks and Roll right here with Sean Barnard. I am Sean Brace. Everybody, once again, all of our podcasts, including this one right here, Picks and Roll, is available over at foxphlgambler.com.